Oh, what a night. We've seen stocks bounce higher overnight, perhaps signaling the worst maybe is behind us. Quality tech stocks in particular, such as CrowdStrike, are now up 21%, up off their lows, while the broad global indices are continuing to move up off their 2025 lows as well, posting their best one-day move higher after a Fed meeting, the best one-day advance since July, mind you. Welcome to The Daily. My name is Jessica Amir, a market strategist here with Mumu. It's great to have your company this Thursday, March the 20th. Well, the S&P 500 has advanced 1.1%, the Nasdaq 100 adding more hot sauce, up 1.3%, while European indices gain ground as well. But the focus is on quality tech stocks such as CrowdStrike. But broadly, what is important to note that investors are really starting to perhaps buy the dip now, I guess with a firming outlook that the worst could be behind us until that key April 2 deadline. Now, evidence of the fact that the market could be turning around is we're seeing the market's fear gauge, known as the VIX, that's dropped like a stone. It's back to a level of 20, and this is a level that usually encourages buying of stocks after we've seen the fear gauge be elevated for so long. Plus, we've also got lower bond yields and a lower US dollar. This is also supportive of stocks, and this is perhaps why FOMO could start to awaken animal spirits once more. Now, the futures are indicating a positive session for the Aussie share market. It's expected to nudge up back toward that key 8,000 level, bringing back that key psychological level into play. But we'll wait to see if those gains are maintained when the session kicks off into play. So what happened overnight? Well, we heard from the US Federal Reserve, and basically the March message is positive for stocks. That's the key takeaway. The central bank has signaled 2 rate cuts are coming this year. That's backdropped by slower economic growth and higher inflation. Now, basically, the narrative of those 2 rate cuts that supports stocks. We do know it is going to be a bumpy road, basically, given that the fact that we've got inflation creeping up, tariffs and economic growth expected to slow. Nevertheless, the economy is perceived to have momentum, even at a slower pace. So that's why we're seeing stocks rise up, perhaps investors feeling encouraged to buy. So this is how the S&P 500 stocks, or the leaderboard, what it looked like overnight. For those tuning into our podcast, we're basically displaying the biggest gainers in the S&P 500 overnight. 370 S&P 500 stocks closed in the black overnight. Boeing, Super Microcomputer, or SMCI, if that's what you want to call it, Royal Caribbean and Caesars Entertainment made the most gains, as we can see. They rose about 6% each. So well done to you if you are invested in those economic plays. Elsewhere, we've seen tech stocks move higher as well. They erased yesterday's fall. Although the Nasdaq 100 stocks, many are up off their lows, such as Nvidia, they do remain on shaky ground ahead of that key April 2 deadline. That is, of course, when more tariffs are due, and some are set to be put in force. But the narrative, I guess, from Nvidia's GTC AI conference is the launch of cheaper AI models such as DeepSeek is actually positive for economic growth, positive for productivity, and thus it's positive for tech stocks over the long term. And I think this is really kicking off some buying into Nasdaq 100 stocks, and we saw that overnight. Of course, the backdrop is positive for tech stocks over the long term. Now, the renewed thinking is that more cloud computing and infrastructure will be needed than ever before. As such, Nvidia has jumped up 1.8% overnight. It led the gains in the most valuable tech stocks, while we can see on the screen Tesla rose up about 2.7% overnight, but honourable mention, as we said at the outset, that goes to CrowdStrike. Their shares jumping 3.3% overnight to $375. So the stock is well up off its lows. It's in a bull market, up 21%. Now, the cybersecurity giant is being viewed as a key winner in the tech comeback trades. That's probably because it is deemed a very quality stock. What is a quality stock? Well, it's got high recurring revenue. It's got 95% of their revenue under contract. So that's probably why stocks like these continue to be snapped up when we do see a sharp downturn. Thus, as you would expect, CrowdStrike, because it's deemed one of the highest quality tech stocks in these uncertain times, they're seeing lots of earnings upgrades from investment banks. Jefferies upgraded the stock overnight, a new $425 price target. Bank of America also became very bullish on the stock after they met with the company's chief financial officer. So there's lots of good news coming out, and sentiment is indeed pushing up the stock. I think it should be on your radar if it's not already. Now, what's ahead? Of course, there's plenty always on the horizon. What is ahead is US home sales and manufacturing and services reads for the US economy. Now, if these are positive, it could add fuel to stocks attempting to move up off their lows. Perhaps we could see sentiment pick up for the next 2 weeks until that April 2 deadline. Of course, that'll be the major catalyst for stocks if we see gains maintained or completely cut down if we see a lot more tariffs come into play. And that's the daily. For more stocks or for more detail on the stocks we've mentioned today, head over to our platform. Thanks for your company.